All right. Well, looking forward to this week. Obviously, pleased with the win last weekend and in front of our fans, and so looking forward to being at home again and the matchup against Western Kentucky and improving from last week to this week, and hopefully we can make some of the corrections and get some of those things addressed. But overall, really pleased with our coaches, really pleased with our players, the effort, and looking forward to getting better starting today. So, I'll take any questions you guys have.
As always, Jared Lloyd, do you want to go first? And then Jay.
I've got a reputation to live up to now, Kalani, apparently, as far as getting my hand up quick. So can't let down. Team made it into the top 10. I know you've in the coaches poll in 11th. I know you don't like going into that and worrying about that, but how well do you feel like your team has handled that? Because that's obviously been a main focus, and as this continues to progress, it seems like they're playing with that maturity and that level of confidence, and not really looking at those things. How do you feel like they've done?
Yeah, I think a lot goes into, we've talked about how our team has handled adversity really well and been able to bounce back. And I think, in agreement with that, I think that our players have handled success really well too. So the fact that they're staying humble and trying to be as hungry as possible, trying to get better, not settling on what they've done so far, just looking to get better. I think it's been a good mindset that our players have had and something that our coaches and our leaders have shown from the very beginning. So we'll keep with that and keep the theme of staying focused and trying to be as humble and as hungry as possible. It's a fine line, but I really believe our guys have found the balance and are doing a really good job with it.
When you're playing so well and winning games like you are, Kalani, 6-0 is a great record. Doesn't matter who you're playing, that's a great way to start. You've been associated with a few programs that have done that. What does that mean that you've been able to start the season with those 6 straight wins?
I think you gain momentum, but I think the key is to try to focus. Every week's different, and just like every play on the football field, whether it's good or bad, you got to move on to the next one. And so I think more than anything, we still keep the feeling of appreciation and gratitude. We get to play this game, and that we get to represent our church, our families, everything the right way, and that's on and off the field. So hopefully we can continue to do that and keep our focus. That's been all we're focused on right now, is just trying to play, this day, trying to win this day, trying to win this week, and staying as focused as possible.
Lon, you've talked about building depth since the day you got at BYU. Where do you feel like you are on that path? Are you there yet? And what was it that made you think that was really needed in the program?
I think that's something that's needed in every program, and I think it's one of those questions that I don't think you can have too much of. You know what I mean? It's depth is something and that's with development, that's with recruiting, that's with focusing on details, getting stronger. A lot of that stuff plays into it. Finding a scheme that could benefit the majority of your talent and your skill. So a lot of that goes into it. There's so many variables that go into getting your depth ready, but that was our focus when we first got here. We felt like we had a pretty good starting group and needed more depth and not just size or strength, but all of it, football IQ, everything. So we started to establish that. I think I wasn't shy about saying that I feel like this is the deepest team we've had, since we started. But it's not talking about talent. We're talking about depth, meaning the guys that we feel comfortable taking the field, and that's one thing that you always keep working on. You don't. It's not like, okay, we've established it, now we're deep. Here we go. We need 100. We have 123 guys on this roster. We need all of them to be ready to play, and are we there yet? No, but hopefully we get there. I don't know if any team is, but where they feel comfortable with their 123rd guy starting on the field. But that's our mindset. We have to approach each year that way, and we have to approach our roster where we feel like we should be comfortable with every one of those guys getting on the field.
Then just if someone had told you you wouldn't have Chaz Ayu, Matt Bushman, James Ebney for a couple games, pretty much the stars of your team. Would you have still felt good about your depth and that it would overcome those obstacles?
I think that's how you start. You look at it and you don't plan on guys getting hurt or whatever. That's just what happens with the way the seasons go when you're dealing with return missionaries. You're dealing with developmental guys, and you're dealing with a violent sport like BYU football plays. We play a physical brand of football, and so guys get banged up, and that's some years are worse than others. But I think, when you're looking at like the quarterback position, we feel like, last year we didn't have enough depth there because guys were untested, and this year going into the season, we felt like, hey, we feel good about our personnel in that position group, and we need every position group to match that, and maybe some just are untested because of the fact that we have healthy guys that are starting and doing great up front and in different position groups. But yeah, that's just one of those things that you just know you have to go to, and any opportunity you can to develop the depth, meaning getting the guys in the game as early as you can, and going through some growing pains on the field, that's gonna pay off in the long run.
Okay, let's go Pat Graham and then Mitch Harper.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Doing great.
Hey, you're talking about, you want to take everything one day at a time and just winning the day, winning the week, and that's easy to say, but when you're dealing with kids, how do you resist temptation? I mean, Boise State's looming on the horizon, and Western Kentucky's 2-4. How do you resist the temptation? How do you get them not to resist temptation of looking forward?
You just don't let Pat ask questions to our players. You just focus on, listen, all we're worried about is playing Western Kentucky, and everybody knows the future and the situation and games that are on the schedule, but I think it's worked so far. The formula that we've have the approach of, yeah, right. There's these kids. They understand the situation, but they also understand the harm it could do when you're looking past an opponent and you don't respect the game. We view this as Western Kentucky. We're looking at Tyson Helton as the head coach and the things that he's done. They won 9 games last year. We're giving them all the respect that we possibly can, because I think that's what football deserves. This game is a beautiful sport. It's a team sport, and I think you do things the right way, meaning that you only focus on what's ahead of you. You don't look to the next week. I think it's disrespectful to the game itself, and we've talked about that to our players. And so we're trying to focus on what's in front of you right now, and that's Western Kentucky, and not looking beyond that. I think the game deserves that much respect, and definitely Western Kentucky does. And they won 9 games. Look at some of the things that they've done this year. And I know Tyson Helton is a great coach, man. He's a son of a coach and a brother of a coach, and so I know the Helton family. I've been around them and been really impressed with the way that their minds work with the game of football. So as a head coach, they're going to get all my respect. And so I think for our football team, it's part of the sportsmanship of the game and the class that we teach our players, that show sportsmanship means to focus on the task at hand, and that's Western Kentucky and playing this game.
Great answer. Thank you very much.
Kalani, I'm curious with the pandemic, what's been the impact that it's had on players' preparedness level? Because it feels like it's been a opportunity for players to maybe eliminate distractions. Have you seen that in the preparation that players have had amidst this pandemic compared to other years?
Yeah, I just see the level of maturity and experience on our players, specifically in our leaders. They've been through seasons and been through adversity, and so I think this leaning on them heavily has been the key. And looking at everything, I just got done talking about being focused and looking at everything as distractions. And so anything that doesn't allow you to play football and doesn't allow you to be at your best, doesn't allow you to be at your best at home, in the classroom and on the field, are distractions, whether they're praise or criticism. So why give any of those any life? And I know your jobs in the media is to praise and to criticize, so I'm going against what you guys do. But as a football, that's for the fans and for everybody else to enjoy. But this football team's got to be focused on what we're trying to get done, and we've made a lot of goals and a lot of dreams that we want to accomplish, and the only way you get that done is to be focused and not spend too much time with the praise and criticism.
You mentioned earlier the team's trying to get better every single day. What specific areas is Zach trying to get better? I mean, the guy's just statistically putting up record-type numbers. Where is Zach trying to get better at this point?
So many things, and it's the guys that don't that are always working and always finding ways to get better. I don't ever have to worry about them, and we have a good number of guys that are like that on this team, and then we have a bunch of guys that are learning and are seeing their example and are trying to become like them. So we're an active group, and active meaning trying to get better in a lot of different areas. I want these guys to know that their job isn't to just be great at football. Their job is to be great at being the best son they could be, best brother, boyfriend, or if they're married, husband. All that stuff matters, and I think it all carries over into becoming the best. It'll all carry over to the field. So that's what focus is, just trying to get better, and you don't get better by just sitting around and hoping for things to get done.
Okay, Jake Hatch and then Jason Shepard.
Kalani, you talked about Western Kentucky a little bit earlier, but I wanted to just kind of get your thoughts overall on their scheme, how they look on film to you.
Yeah, they have some athletes out there that can run. I mean, they're well coached, and if you're looking at the way they compete, I can't say for sure, but I know they competed against Liberty, who's ranked, and lost a close one against them. They played Louisville early in the I think that's the first game of the season, and so you're seeing a highly competitive group. They're used to. I mean, they had success last year, so they're used to winning games. They won 9 games, and they're well coached. You look at their coaching staff; those guys know what they're doing, and so they'll find ways to and they'll be creative and find innovative ways to try to put points on the board and try to stop us from scoring. And so we have to be ready for everything. In this last game against Texas State, we weren't anticipating a high dose of the different looks that they gave us early on, and we were able to settle down and get our guys composed. And you're looking at we plan for as much as we possibly can, but I don't know if you can plan on that being getting that high dose of plays. But that's okay. We just teams don't know what we're doing defensively. Maybe one week we'll just blitz every down. Who knows? There's just something that's the game of football. You have to strategize and put yourself in a position to have success where you feel like you can compete. And for us, we're going to play all 3 phases and play team sound football, trying to get the win. And if we can do that, I like our chances.
I also wanted to ask about your cornerback tandem, of Chris Wilcox and Keenan Ellis. Both of them were kind of down the depth chart now due to injury earlier on this year. What do you like about them out there as your starting corners?
Yeah, I feel like our corners and the whole group, Coach Guilford's done a great job at preparing that group to play the different looks and different things that we do scheme-wise, and whether it's locking up man-to-man or playing our zones and applying pressure, all that stuff they're really good at. I think what I've been really pleased with the physical part of their game. I think corners, we have to rely on them to tackle, be aggressive, and to be physical on wherever we need them. And I like their approach to the game, and those guys, there's a good number of guys that can get it done, and we feel like we're pretty deep there and healthy. And so if we can keep the health up and keep our guys rotating and use them wisely, and we'll be okay. Right now, I like the way they're playing, the way they're covering. If corners aren't being talked about, that's probably a good sign. I mean, Chris Wilcox was one of our MVPs in the Houston game, and really didn't hear about him and didn't have a lot of stats. That's what corners get paid to do.
Kalani, a season like this certainly has the potential to pay off big in terms of recruiting. What have you noticed in terms of recruiting, at least through the first 6 games? Have you noticed an increase in interest from recruits? What from a recruiting standpoint, how has this start and the way the team is playing right now affected recruiting?
Well, we recruit, we recruit pretty young, and we evaluate early on, and so and then it's just a matter of if it matches up with the recruit, our school. If they're willing to represent what we represent, knowing that this is a church institution, and if it falls in line with how they live their life. I think that's the key. So our evaluation, I've been really impressed with our coaches, and we do a great job, I feel, of evaluating talent and we usually don't get it wrong when it comes to evaluating a guy like we think could be a Division I type of talent. And as long as we stick to that, that's fine. We'll be okay. The key is whether they're going to be a good fit for what we have in our culture of our team, and if they're a good fit for the culture of our university, meaning the honor code, academics, all that stuff all has to line and be in line. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But there's some guys that we feel like that are out there that know what BYU is about. As long as we can get the message of what our school is about, there's a lot of members of the church that fall in line with what we do, but there's also some that don't. And then there's also non-members that are out there that are much in line with what we represent and love the way we play the game, love the way our style of football, but more importantly, appreciate what this school is all about. And those are the guys that we're looking to get. And I think more than anything, this probably was able to, people talking about us and allow us to get to some of those guys that are out there that really don't know much about BYU, and they can gain an interest and look into it and say, hey, what's this school about? And they realize that that's how they're raised, and it fits in line with what they want to accomplish, and they feel like they can get their goals here, which is a high number of players, a high number of recruits that we're looking at.
One other thing for me, one of the MOs to this team this year has been coming out strong right out of the get-go and really putting teams away early. And I know coaches always want to do that. Seeing your team being able to do that, being ready from the kickoff, how has that changed the dynamic of these games?
I think from the beginning, our guys playing strong, and I mean it all depends on how the game goes. More than anything, it's just we know we're going to face adversity. That's part of football, and we know we're going to get the other team's best shot. That's what happens. I think the key for us is making sure that they get ours, and I've been on that from the very beginning about how we anticipate everyone's game plan is to give us their best shot, and then we just need to make sure that that's in our game plan as well, is to make sure that they get ours in return. And if we can do that, I feel really good about our chances for success. Just the level of maturity that I'm seeing from this team is up there, and that's because we have great coaches and great leaders on this team. I've been really pleased with how Jeff Grimes is coordinating the offense, working really well with that staff, and Eli Sitake is doing the same thing on defense, and Ed's been able to do that on special teams, and that connecting with our leaders on this team has been really, really nice so far. So let's keep it rolling.
Okay, last two questions, Jay Drew and then Mitch Harper.
Hey, Kalani, I just wanted to ask you about Zach Dahm, his contributions and his journey back from literally being off the team for a year. What have you seen from him? And then what about him has kind of enabled him to make that journey back?
Well, I don't know if a lot of people know the details of his situation, but he was told that he probably should retire from football and take a medical scholarship. And when that happens, you're done. You don't practice or play. You just go to school, and we have, unfortunately, that's part of football that happens in every school, every university. And he refused to take it. And so if you know anything about the Dahl family, you know anything about Zach, is that he said no, with the hopes that if he just doesn't take that scholarship and walks on, that there's a possibility that he can come back and play, and he would have to clear the medical clearance, and he would have to clear physical and everything. And so he decided he was going to do that, and he got his body right. And then not only did he come back and do that, he came back, walked on, and it was pretty evident that he was going to need a scholarship right away. And so I think it was nice that our staff, Coach Tuyaki, was able to have that scholarship ready for him. And then when he did that, he decided he wanted to play D-end instead of D-tackle, and he lost a lot of weight, got himself, he looks great, and did it the right way and became a D-end. And you're looking at the plays that he's making, it's because of his hard work and because his belief in himself. And so I was really, really pleased with him being able to just bet on himself, and you're seeing the results. And when that guy plays on the field, to go from someone that was told that it was done, you talk about a person who appreciates every snap he gets. That's Zach Dahl right there, is a definition of it.
Lonnie, last thing from me, what attributes or maybe characteristics go into a program having a successful rate of player development and churning out and getting the most out of players during their collegiate careers?
I think that's what we owe it to our players. I think you're only as strong as your weakest link, basically. And so we have 123 guys on the roster. Our jobs as coaches is develop these young men physically. I think that's the easy thing. People say, well, you develop them physically, but it's in all aspects, mentally and spiritually as well. I need them to know that the way they were raised by their families is going to continue on here. And I think that's my job as a coach is to keep loving them up. And it's not easy, right? And it's going to be hard. The BYU experience is going to be hard. But that's why you'll remember it for the rest of your life. I'm speaking from experience myself, knowing that this place is difficult, but it's going to test you mentally because of the academics that come in line. It's going to test your discipline and how you're going to live your life. It's going to test all those things, and then to back it up, you're going to play tough football, and we're going to expect the performance on and off the field. And when you're done with it, you can be really proud of the things that happened and the growth that happened from that transition from a young man to an adult. And that's why our alumni does great things out there, and they take care of each other, and they're always welcome to come back, especially when we get done with the pandemic stuff. But we can always count on our alumni to be there, whether they're athletes or not, or they're former football players. But there's a high number of alumni and that are in the fan base that are there and available, or good resources for our players. And then, I mean, it's just, I say alumni, but it's the BYU experience. There's a lot of fans that understand BYU and what it's all about that didn't go to school here. And it's just that lifestyle that they live. It resonates with a lot of people. And so our players are available to see those guys. And we go on away games and we see them everywhere, our fans everywhere. And people travel to come watch us. And the least we could do is give them the best show we possibly can.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys. Stay safe. Thank you.